Hi everyone. Right off the top, as usual, I'm going to claim fair use. I'm going to be playing a number of really fascinating, interesting, cool video clips in this video to kind of illustrate where I'm going with it. And I'm going to start with what I call the Jesus map. It has Jesus' name on it in Greek, Jesus. And I mentioned opening up another can of worms in the last video, and that's what I'm going to do today is open up that can of worms. And here's the map. Um, the top red circle says Mer Glacial, and the sea of ice. And on the right, to give context to it, we have Lake Superior, and the red line alongside the Apache and Navajo is approximately the 44th parallel, and that is where the Yellowstone National Park would be. Now, I didn't have the patience to do the longitude, just the number system changed from the 1674 map. But what I'll do is jump ahead. Here's the Louisiana Purchase map, and that was from, fast forward to 1809. Hint, hint, before 1811 when the Mississippi earthquakes went off and when it looked like there were major earth changes in Arizona and California. And we'll do a zoom in and um, to give context to the map, on the far upper right corner is Lake Superior, and then when you get on the left, the Pacific side, you have where Seattle is on the top, San Francisco down below, and a little more context. The other two green circles is River du Nord, which would translate to del Norte, which translates to the Rio Grande River, and that's accurate. Below that, Santa Fe, still on the map. And that little red star would be, the correct location of Yellowstone National Park. And what's very peculiar about the map now, that it looks like a mountain range on the left, and that would be consistent with the Cascade Mountain Range. And what's really odd about this map um, are the blue circles, the Missouri River and the Platte River headwaters begin at the Cascades, and that would mean there are no Rocky Mountains. The other blue circle, the Mississippi, looks like it's changed course because today it runs more north-south, and this is going at an angle into unknown headwaters, essentially. Okay, so Yellowstone, the red star. Now there is a bit of a mountain range right below it, which may or may not be consistent with the Grand Tetons. It's hard to speculate, but okay, here we are, 1809, no Rocky Mountains. And this map I found very interesting, how they talk about Yellowstone and the widespread effect it's had on the United States area. And this I want to point out because it was so interesting to me. In the lower part of the orange, let's pretend those are two legs coming down. The one on the left is a big swath of Arizona that I've been talking about a long time. The devastation, even to the toes going into, they're not toes, but the foot portion of the left leg going into New Mexico, which is where the cliff dwellings are. And on the right, where Albuquerque is, I just found this interesting that that leg is where the Indian ruins I've been talking about in the last video are all located. Interesting, isn't it? And this would also include um, the sand dunes of Colorado and New Mexico. Here's kind of a zoom in on Yellowstone today. And I just want to say a couple things. Yellowstone is very dynamic. I mean, people could spend their whole YouTube channel on monitoring it. Um, and I've come across articles where the temperature of a hot spring in Idaho suddenly became scalding hot, things like that. I did travel this area. Oh, it's been 40 years ago when I was young and feeling my oats. Um, and it was spectacular. And in one of the videos I watched, they commented, you could spend 2 weeks in Yellowstone easily. Excuse me. Um, okay, and something I want to point out, the Grand Tetons are right below Yellowstone, and these are the highest peaks in the Rockies. To the right of the Grand Tetons is Thermopolis. I visit there. I have no idea what's going on there today, but I do remember some native people running um, this huge swimming pool that was warm as a bathtub, and what really stands out with all of this area is the smell of sulfur. Okay, and traveling into the Idaho side, there are massive fields of lava. I mean, this is such a unique part of the world. It's just astonishing to see water coming out of the earth that's scalding hot and boiling mud, and it's just the most unique place on earth. And again, it's very dynamic. And dare I say, if there's anywhere that there would be on this earth that there would be an opening of an abyss, this would be it. Now, I do not know the mind of God, but it is fantastically weird, creepy, and beautiful all in the same breath. And it's an enormous swath of land that, would encompass, you know, this great, enormous caldera that at some point opened up in the earth. Um, I don't know all the details of this map, but it's interesting to me for a couple reasons. Now, these people that devote themselves to Yellowstone will have a bullseye, or a off-centered bullseye of areas where Yellowstone could potentially affect. And it just reminds me a little bit of how, I grew up hearing about the earthquakes in California that, it could break off or sink into the ocean. And it just made me think, and it's not to say these things can't happen, that Yellowstone could blow or California be affected. But what came to mind, are we being a little bit hoodwinked that these things have already happened? I don't know. Now, Another small comment I want to make is in regard to um, the powers that be, if you will. I'm going to start calling them the Anakim. They're related to the giants, but the Anakim are the long necks, and many of these people in charge have really abnormal necks. Just an observation. Um, but what I want to talk about just briefly is, the Anakim go around and can push the God button. Like I don't know, like a car engine melting down in California. I would consider that pushing the God button. Or more recently, Jennifer Zhang from Inconvenient Truth did really good reporting on the Chinese flooding, and the Wall Street Journal reports, quote, 33 dead. Anyway, these things didn't make the cut. I'm going to leave the links. I really like Jennifer Zhang for knowing, getting some decent reporting what's going on in another part of the world. And her channel's Inconvenient Truth. Anyway, they didn't make the cut, but I what I want to do is differentiate these Anakim pushing the God button, differentiate that from what's happening in real natural disaster. I don't want to say God's hitting the God button, but if we are, if there is such a thing as a God clock, He's in charge of that, nobody else. Okay, and again, I don't know the mind of God. I'm not saying Yellowstone's a pit of hell, but that's really what it made me think of. And and another extremely interesting thing about this map is showing the spread of ash from the Mount St. Helens explosion in 1980, and how Yellowstone, I mean, it's completely dwarfed by the magnitude of what Yellowstone is capable of in the past or future. Who knows? But I happened to be on the central coast of Oregon, about 10 miles inland, when Mount St. Helens blew its top. And it rattled my windows. It was like this very distant sonic boom. You could feel it go through your body. Huge, huge. And it rattled the windows of the house a number of times. It was massive. There was a light dusting of ash, 300 miles away in the wrong direction or the opposite direction from where the bird flies. And, there was enough ash to write your name on your car. It was just a dusting. And something unique about this ash that I want to mention at this time is, it looks very fluffy and light, but this ash was heavy as sand. But it was so tiny, it would float in the air. And what I want to do is compare, the fire and ice thing is that Mount St. Helen blowing its top was miniature in scale to what Yellowstone could potentially be. And I want to show some footage of the power of ice and water. Let's just pretend, I should rename my channel Jane's Musings, pure speculation. But let's pretend there was a glacier in this part of the world, and Yellowstone caldera opened up and melted this glacier. This is what I'm getting at. And everything I'm showing is really on a tiny scale. I'm going to end this video with some just fantastic footage taken at Yellowstone. But I'm going to also show some vintage footage of when Mount St. Helens blew. I'm going to show some what ice can do and then end it with the Yellowstone. And, you know, pure speculation, but the power of these natural forces are pretty awesome. Okay.
There had been 2 strong earthquakes just before 8:32 a.m. on May 18th. The bulge could stand no more, and as it broke loose and thundered down the mountain, it did so with a speed that kept millions of tons of earth airborne for the first several hundred yards. Earth propelled by an explosive force equal to that of a hydrogen bomb.
Visibility in the local area is down to 100, 125 feet in places. The fallout is causing a white surface, which the traveling public can't see the lines to know exactly where they're going. Interstate 5 is closed in the Kelso area due to the possibility of flooding from flash floods. Mount Rainier National Park is closed, as well as SR 706 going into the park due to the fallout and the darkness. Interstate 82 has just been closed 4 miles south of Ellensburg due to the darkness and limited visibility. Sadis Pass is still open. They are reporting down there that it's a light haze at this time. Interstate 80 coming out of Portland, they still are advising that it's clear and travelable. We have this condition that you're witnessing here this morning all the way down to Kennewick now and into the Freda area, although Freda wasn't experiencing fallout as of a half hour ago. Spokane is clear. They are not witnessing any of the cloud at the report a half hour ago.
If somebody is stranded in between the, traveling, the best thing for them is just to pull over or to find a motel or someplace to sit it out.
We've had 3 or 4 in here this morning. We're wanting to know what they should do. My recommendation to them at the time is until we know more of what is occurring, that they'd be better for them to hole up, so to speak, get into a safe place and sit it out a while until the agencies and that can determine just how long and what's going to happen. Change in wind could mean a difference in what our situation will be. At the present, we have no word as to how long the condition is going to exist. We are, of course, by going outside, have quite a bit of fallout at this time. We had an earlier report, it's non-confirmed, that the fallout was approximately 1 inch an hour on the summit of White Pass.
Possibly because his vision was obscured by falling volcanic ash, a pilot of a small crop dusting plane crashed into one of the major Bonneville Power Administration lines. The pilot was killed and the plane destroyed when it crashed into the line 3 miles east of Teenaway, Washington, about 17 miles northwest of Ellensburg. Kittitas County Sheriff Bob Barrett says the area was darkened like an eclipse when the accident occurred about 9:22 this morning. That happened about an hour after the eruption at Mount St. Helens. Gene Tollefson of the Bonneville Power Administration says the 287,000 kilovolt line was carrying about 230,000 kilovolts when the accident occurred. He says the line was knocked down and power disrupted, but he said that since it is a light load time, power has been diverted. Barrett identified the dead pilot as Vernon Mitchell of Ellensburg. This has been a Newsbeat special report. We'll have more reports as more information becomes available. The Yakima County Emergency Services Department has set up a ham radio base in the county courthouse. Newsbeat reporter Ken Crockett talked with Acting Director Rick Cole.
We're primarily interested in coordinating any problems that it is creating for the county. If there are people that do have shelter problems, if there are people that, we want to be the information center here for these problems so that we can coordinate with the proper agencies to be able to help. So there are stranded people that they should stay in shelter and stay under cover. But this looks like a long-term thing and they do need, shelter, then we should know so we can contact the shelter people and coordinate for that purpose.
Is there
any other hazard problems? Certainly, we want to know, the problems that do exist here.
Is there a communication problem? People trying to reach other people?
Well, have you picked up a phone lately? The lines certainly are very busy, and certainly should stay off the phones unless it's absolutely necessary. Keep the traffic to a minimum. It's not the time to gossip with your neighbor. Keep the calls down so that the necessary calls can get through, and so that the people that can help in the emergencies.
Yakima City Manager Dick Zay says that there is no need to worry about the volcanic ash polluting the city's drinking water. He says the filtering system is working well and that the backup water supply deep wells are on standby and could be activated in an emergency situation. We've heard that same story goes for the Tri-Cities and Lewiston, whose water supplies are also in good shape at this point. Zay says that the Yakima City Hall will be closed tomorrow, and he urges all Yakima businesses to remain closed also to facilitate cleanup efforts. There will be no garbage collection service tomorrow, and no decision has yet been made as to whether the city transit system will be in operation. Yakima Valley College has also announced that it will be closed tomorrow as well. There has been some concern about the possible adverse health effects of breathing the volcanic ash fallout. But emergency physician Dr. Lee McFarland of St. Elizabeth Hospital says the dust is not dangerous.
Well, as I've been led to believe from the reports that I've heard, the particles themselves are really quite neutral in pH, so they're not much of a danger from either an acid or a basic irritation, but they are also quite large, so they don't get into the deep respiratory passages. They will be trapped when you breathe through your nose by the nasal hairs and the lining of the nose. If you breathe through your mouth, they'll be trapped usually in the back part of the throat or in the upper respiratory passage of the trachea. The best thing to do to avoid that is to just use a mask like you have. A cotton cloth, maybe moistened, will help to filter out some of this. But even if it does get back into your nose and throat, the biggest problem is one of irritation and cough. We've seen a number of patients this morning. The one that I'm working on here is an individual who had exactly that happen. She was outdoors and began to have some breathing difficulties and cough, basically due to irritation of the back part of the throat. Her previous history was one of asthma, but this had not aggravated her asthma. When I examined her lungs, they were perfectly clear.
Have you had many people coming in today complaining about breathing problems?
Yes, we've had probably a handful, maybe 10 or 12, who have had symptoms, but in each instance they've all been very high respiratory symptoms, and we've had no one of the hundreds of people in Yakima who do have asthma. We have had no one come in with an asthma attack yet today.
like all the others. So if it doesn't come back, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Have more.
It's starting, Adam. I think. Adam, it's starting.
Oh wait, Jim, this is the big piece is starting to calve. Let me call you back.
Call him back.
Okay, bye.
Still going? Yeah. In that V section right there. Holy shit, look at that big bird rolling. All four are running, right?
Yeah. Look at that. You see how, look at the whole thing.
faces 300, sometimes 400 feet tall. Pieces of ice were shooting up out of the ocean 600 feet and then falling.
Don't you better go on the other side, they better go too.
Yeah, that's what I saw in the light.
We see pictures taken in the 19th century of people on this site, so it is kind of a fun thing to be a part of, as long as you know you're not having your building crushed. In the late 19th century, because these floods are getting more and more problematic, the ice shows and the floods that come with them. In 1886, for example, the flood stretches all the way to Square Victoria and hits a lot of low-lying neighborhoods. So it's not just the port, it's all over. And the city is realizing it's got to do something.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just grab it here. I'll get you a size comparison. I hear thunder. Oh my gosh, you can hear sticks and trees breaking.
Yeah.
Wow. This is amazing. Wow, you hear it all down there?
Yeah.
It's crunching everything. It's just crunching its way through. This is just amazing. Look right here.
Oh,
wow.
It's moving.
Oh my God, it's all going right now.
I don't know if we want to stand here.
Mom, we got this on video.
Oh
my God.
I'm moving back.
This is amazing. Wow, Mom, I can't believe we got
the bridge down there.
No, it's not. It's not gonna take out the bridge. This is just amazing, though. I can't believe we witnessed this. It got clogged up for a long time, and we heard breaking branches down there.
Yes.
And it finally broke loose. This is just, it was like branches holding it up.
Look.
Tree trunks, yeah, it's amazing.
Branches are falling off the trees down there. See there? On the bank?
Yeah.
Sam, this is wild. Look behind me. What looks like heaps of snow is not. It's actually ice, shards of ice. This is what happened when the ice started attacking. Come with me into this boathouse. It punctured right through the walls and into this and a dozen other structures.
Nikki, it's really pushing in.
It is a colossal blob of ice coming right toward Darla Johnson's cottage. All she could do was hit record.
Michael, get away from it!
In less than 10 minutes, the ice that sounded like breaking glass broke glass in these homes, smashing right through the walls.
It just busted through a door over here!
The ice was pushed ashore by strong winds. Now look at the terrifying wave from above. At times, it climbed to 3 feet deep.
It's going right through their house!
It's called an ice heave, and it happened in Manitoba, Canada this weekend too, where an incredible tsunami-like wave of ice destroyed a dozen two-story homes.
Bang, the ice came right through the living room here. He said, grab your purse, grab whatever you can, get the keys. We got to get out of here.
So you can see right back there, that is the lake, and all of that thin ice was pushed right up with those strong winds onto the shore. Now their ice out, or when it melts, was about 2 to 3 weeks late, and that had a lot to do with why this happened.
Miss Bro.
out the front corner of the house. God, it could be breaking windows. Oh my God, Dad. Oh my God. All right. I don't know if it's safe. I don't know.
Go on the ice.
Crash was up there too. Oh boy.
Here comes the flash flood! Woo! Got sticks. There it goes. Sticks up there. What? Yeah. Yeah, it's getting deeper.
Yeah, it's gonna be coming up for a while. That's a big dude. That's an instant river. Like.
Yeah, it is.
That's amazing.
That was awesome. Wow. We got to get it when it gets to the bridge now.
Good luck. The front? No way.
You think I can get there?
I mean, if you
running?
If you have that kind of stamina, go for it. I'll see you there.
Okay. Here it comes. Flash flood happening. Slight debris plug. There it is. Yeah. Extreme meteorologist Reed Timmer documenting a flash flood on New River. This thing has been going for a long time today, caused by water well in excess, rainfall in excess of 4 inches over a couple of hour period. You can see debris now coming down New River here. Close range flood. This is definitely a deadly flood if this were to take you away here. Flash flood warnings continue. Start to see a little side lobe here catching me. It's overspreading the plant. Oh yeah.
This is what it's all about, man.
That's crazy.
Instant river. We were walking in this river a few minutes ago. Long drive. Little dam, baby.
No, just shooting for fun.
That's a big old scorpion. You see this a lot with the big floods. They get washed up. You probably traveled down that flood for a minute.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Got some video of it. Yeah. Just submerged. See, that's what'll happen to one of us if we fell in.